You may have tried Timeout and found that it doesn't work. But sometimes there's confusion about exactly what Timeout is and how it works. This video will help you know how to use Timeout in the way that works best for most children. You can use Timeout for children from about ages 1.5 to 10 years old to decrease any unsafe or concerning behavior that your child does. Some examples include aggression like hitting, kicking, or biting, destruction of materials like breaking toys or tearing up books, or other unsafe behaviors like touching electrical outlets or darting off. You can also use Timeout when kids don't follow instructions, because that can be dangerous too. Timeout means removing a child from anything fun and interesting right after he misbehaves and briefly putting him someplace that is boring and uninteresting. Missing out on good things for a short amount of time helps kids learn to avoid bad behavior in the future. For this to work, Timeout should be as boring as possible, and it's very important that kids don't get any attention or interaction from parents. Before looking at a very good timeout, let's see one that isn't quite right.
Cora, you know you're not supposed to hit. We do not hit. That's not safe. It hurts people's feelings. You're going to your room.
You can come out when you're ready.
This parent has some idea about timeout. She knows the child should be removed from the situation, but she made a very common mistake. She talked a lot with her daughter right after she did something bad. The girl got immediate attention after doing something wrong. Kids love attention so much that even bad attention, like getting scolded, can keep a timeout from working. A few other things about this timeout weren't perfect either. First, taking a child to a room usually isn't the best idea. Children's rooms usually have fun things in them and are too interesting for timeout to work well. Second, the mom said the girl could come out when she's ready. Parents should be in charge of when timeouts are over, not kids. Now let's watch the beginning of a really good timeout.
No hitting. Timeout.
That was much better. The mother quickly labeled what the child did wrong by saying, "no hitting," and then took her immediately to a boring spot without any more talking. This is important because we don't want the parent and child to argue about going to the timeout. That would give the child attention and delay the start of timeout. Even though the girl was yelling, the mom kept ignoring her. This is exactly the right way to do it. Once a child earns a timeout, he or she shouldn't be spoken to again until after the timeout is over. 2 minutes in timeout is long enough for preschoolers. For older kids, about 5 minutes works well. Making timeout longer usually won't help it work any better. When first teaching your child timeout, it can be a good idea to make the time a little shorter while he or she is learning to sit in timeout. If the child stays in timeout once it starts, your only job is to keep ignoring him until the timeout is over. Ignoring is very important. If you respond to the child during timeout, most children won't learn as well. Some kids will sit in timeout right away, but others will try to get out of timeout. This doesn't mean timeout isn't working, it just means the child needs more practice. If your child gets out of timeout without permission, simply take her back, but do it without talking or making eye contact. You may need to do this many times to show your child you will follow through on the timeout. No matter what you do, remember, don't respond to your child in any way and don't let them out of the timeout until the time has been served. Once the timeout is up, the child needs to be sitting and quiet, and then the timeout can be ended.
You're being quiet now. Timeout's over. You had a timeout because you hit. We don't hit.
Once the timeout has ended, you can give a brief explanation of why it happened. If timeout was given because your child didn't listen to an instruction, he needs to do whatever you said or timeout will start over again. Then, look for a specific good behavior you can praise your child for as soon as possible. Timeout won't fix all child behaviors right away, but if done right, bad behavior will happen less over time. Timeout will only work if the rest of your child's life, or time in, is fun and interesting. So if you want to try timeout, please watch our videos about the power of praise and supercharging playtime. Remember, you can watch these videos and get other helpful information from our website at any time.